Hello, welcome to the NASCAR Randomness Podcast. We'll explain a little bit about this, but I'm Olivia, but my podcaster name is Nutella Fun Run, but you can call me Nutella if you want. We're using kind of like code names because like it's on YouTube, so like have fun with that. What's your name?
Maggie.
And what's your podcaster name?
Roxy.
Yeah, so it's Roxy Gaming really, but you can call her Roxy. So we both like NASCAR and video games. Our first episode was at NASCAR, and it was going to be about Martin Truex Jr., but it changes every week, so we didn't really have the time. Yeah, so it was really, like, we had to change a lot of stuff. Right now we're going to talk about Talladega. That's in Alabama. It's a racetrack. So we're going to talk about Martin Truex Jr. He's my favorite driver, but yeah. So what we're going to talk about originally was MTJ back-to-back playoff wins, 2019 playoff update, Jimmie Johnson playoff upsetment, and how I jinxed it. So really, Martin Truex Jr. is a really good driver. He won the 2017 championship, and he won Las Vegas and Richmond in the round of 16 playoff parts. And then Jimmie Johnson, he's always made it into playoffs, and he missed it this time. And I feel like it's kind of my fault that he got in that crash and didn't make it because, it's not really my fault. I jinxed it because I was doing something in my tech class, and I kind of, screwed up in a picture and destroyed the car and ruined it, and I feel really bad. Yeah, so that's basically what I got so far with Jimmie, but Jimmie's my favorite. So yeah, so right now, we started. The NASCAR Randomness Podcast is a podcast about NASCAR and randomness stuff. So the randomness is like the story time and art and video games. Maggie will handle most of that stuff, but I'll join in on most of the conversations. So, yeah, so Maggie, do you want to explain your segments, the art and the story time?
The art, we switch each time. The art is, each time we do a different one. Like, art will be next time, and then the story time will be the time after that, then maybe video games right after that, after the story time.
So like episode 1 is NASCAR, and then episode 2 will be art or something that Maggie chooses for her part episode.
Yep.
Having some fun. You're gonna love our podcast. It's like the best.
I'm sure.
So, what would we do for story time?
It's stuff about our lives. That's what
story time is. So we kind of tell stories about our lives. It's really fun and everything. You'll like it. Sure. So, we're playing Gartic.io. It's a great game. You might want to play it. We're kind of playing it on the side, so...
Wait, what are you doing?
So, yeah. So, at Talladega yesterday, there was a rain delay Sunday. NASCAR races are every Sunday. Sundays will be Saturday nights. And Talladega was on Sunday, but it was raining, and they had to postpone it, and yeah. So, they did the race Monday, and Ryan Blaney won after a crazy race full of crashes. Like, where Brendan Gaughan flipped over. He flipped once and landed on all fours in the car. Don't worry. He was not outside the car when there was a crash going on. And there's a few big ones. That's the huge wrecks. And if you just let me take a moment. Maggie can maybe explain more about what she does.
Yeah. So what I do really is discuss about the video games, and by video games I mean reviews.
Excuse me.
Okay, so reviews about the video game, how it's like to play the game, what the game is actually like, sort of thing. Story times is just stories from our lives, like it normally is. And the story time, what was that?
That was where we talked about stories about our lives?
Yeah, and, and then the art is sort of teaching you sort of thing.
It's going to be a story about a life lesson. So if you read
No, I'm talking about the art.
I thought you were talking about the story time, but if you read James Rallison's his book, The Odd Ones Out, it's a really great book. You should read it. Got some inside jokes in there. The sympathy rubs where you rub nice and slow. You gotta read it. You'll understand it.
Yes.
But
did you get it?
Hold on a minute. Give me a moment. I'm pulling up some of this stuff. So,
Okay.
There we go. Sorry, guys. I know you might not, think we're so good at the moment, but we just started. It's our first podcast. We're not doing the best.
Yeah,
we're not the best, people.
We're not the best.
Monday's rain-delayed race at Talladega was abnormal, but the big wrecks and exciting finish were par for the course for the Alabama racetrack as Ryan Blaney won today's 1000bulbs.com 500. Blaney edged Ryan Newman at the finish line for the win, just 7,000 seconds ahead. So 0.007 seconds ahead. Denny Hamlin, Eric Almirola, and Michael McDowell rounded out the top 5. With the win, Blaney earned a spot in the final 8 of the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. So Kansas, they're going to have the round of 8 eliminations, and then after that, they're going to have the next few races, and then they're going to have the championship for the win, which is the championship race, the championship for it. So Ryan Blaney says, "Yeah, it was an amazing effort for the last 2 days, to be honest with you," Blaney told NASCAR after coming to pit road during stage 1. So Talladega's pit road is crazy. So he was coming in and then he spun, and he kind of that sent out the caution, and so yeah. So the race was 188 laps, and it got rain delayed. William Byron, he's really young. He drives a 24 car. Jeff Gordon used to drive the 24 car, and he was a great driver. And he was in the lead. And then he got a second stage win. I forgot who won the stage 1. Who won stage 1 again? Do you remember?
No.
I think it was. Hold on a minute. I'll tell you that in a second. The race is divided in 3 stages. So there are 3 big wrecks drew out caution flags, including one that drew a red caution flag. So the red flag means everybody has to stop on the track. And when they do, they're stopped for a couple moments. So with 7 laps remaining in the race, the crash involved 11 cars, including Kurt Busch, Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski, Matt DiBenedetto, Chris Buescher, Brendan Gaughan, Kevin Harvick, and David Ragan. Nobody was hurt. Don't worry. So if you're going to listen to this audio, if I can just turn up my volume.
Another hood flap flies off. Oh, goes the 18. The 42 collects the 17 as well. The 62 upside down. Brendan Gaughan upside down as he went back in front of the pack. More wreck here, guys. And the big one happens right at the front of the field.
So there you go. You got some of the stuff that happens. And then here's one more that you're going to listen to the audio of.
Oh, this shot right here. Yeah. Coming right at you. Look at this 62. It looks like a toy car. It doesn't look real.
3,400 pounds. Remember that.
Right.
These things are almost 2 tons.
We take off.
So there you go. You got that. So Alex Bowman set off the first big one of the day late in stage 2 on lap 106. With 2 laps left in the stage, Bowman was hit from behind by Joe Logano and then slid across the track and up the wall. 10 cars were involved in the wreck, with playoff drivers Martin Truex Jr., Kevin Harvick, Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, and Kyle Larson. And non-playoff drivers Kurt Busch, Michael McDowell, Ryan Preece, and Jimmy Johnson affected. So on lap 162, a second crash took out another handful of front runners, including Byron. Byron was spun by the number 1, which is Kurt Busch, and a 9-car pileup followed. Eric Jones and Byron were both towed back to the garage, and their day was done. So here's another audio. It says, "Caution, another big pileup takes out front runners at Talladega Superspeedway. More #NASCAR Playoffs drama unfolds on the Superspeedway." So we're gonna listen. So I'm gonna have Talladega. So what happens at Talladega is there's lots of great wrecks, big wrecks, not great wrecks. Who likes great wrecks? So what happens here? We're gonna listen to this Monster Energy NASCAR Cup highlights.
That flies off. Oh, goes the 18. The 42 collects the 17 as well. The 62 upside down. Brendan gone upside down as he went back in front of the pack.
More wreck here, guys.
And the big one happens right at the front of the field.
And here's the second crash.
Pushing Kyle.
Oh no, this just analyzing.
Look at Brendan gone, flipping right over. Like the nose of that Chevrolet just can't quite push them straight. You just can't do it.
Yeah, the 17 goes up to side draft. I don't think that affects the 18. It's the one just pushing his brother. It peels the 18 off to the right. It looks a lot like the 24 accident. Look at the 62, a full flip back on its wheels. Thank goodness.
Dude.
Instantly stopped the flipping, put the car back in position.
This is what happened.
So what happened?
Flipped a full 360.
Yeah. So in the spring, I'm gonna pull that up too. Kyle Larson, he flipped like a lot.
How
Sorry.
many times around do you think?
I don't remember. It was probably about 6, maybe.
How many do you think?
He went. I was on the front stretch. On the last lap, maybe.
Dude,
And,
that's impossible.
Yeah, he flipped like 6 times, and the grass and dirt went flying everywhere. I wish you guys could have seen that. So
That's crazy.
Kyle Larson is a great driver, and it was a chaotic multi-car wreck. I'm gonna pull up the data. Here you go. Listen. Cause I don't remember anything that happened really.
So this is coming off of turn 2 onto the back straightaway. Oh, yeah, you can just see it looks like the 38 goes up the racetrack, makes contact with the 24 Byron.
Good job.
And that sends Jeffrey Earnhardt and Kyle Larson. Look at the air get under the right rear of the 42.
God.
Wow.
Heavy contact with that right front. Left front.
A safer barrier was there. Thank goodness for that. But watch this thing. Once it starts flipping, it's like a feather. It just won't stop.
It looks like the 38.
So I just watched the replay. It was in slow motion. So probably about 4 times he flipped total, like 360 flips. So that was the second. That's the only. There's only 2 Talladega races of the season. It's in the spring, and there's one in the fall. And then the one that happened in the spring was where Kyle Larson flipped over, and then Brendan Gaughan flipped once. And the fall one, which was craziness. So what was really funny was Clint Boyer. He is one of the NASCAR drivers. Recently, he flipped over. Well, he didn't flip, but he almost flipped. He went up on his first 2. He did a front wheelie and then got stuck in the mud of the front stretch grass. It was hysterical. So, also, you heard when I was showing you the this when it said Jeffrey Earnhardt. So it's Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s nephew or cousin, I believe. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is one of the greatest NASCAR champions of all time. He was the most popular driver. He retired, and okay, that has been the NASCAR Randomness Podcast, and thank you for listening. Bye.
Bye.